Yagalidu. My name is Cody Henrickson, and I'm a marine biology undergraduate minoring in Native American Studies at Humboldt State University. I am an enrolled member of the Ninilchik village tribe of the Kenai Peninsula within the Great Land of Alaska.
And hi, I'm Carrie Tully. I am a graduate student in the Environment and Community program at HSU. I moved to California 12 years ago and recently to Humboldt with my daughter, seeking a community that I could connect to. We'd like to begin by stating that we are on the land of the Wiyot peoples, which includes the Wiyot tribe, Blue Lake Rancheria, and Bear River Rancheria. Arcata is known as Gudini, meaning among the redwoods. Wiyot peoples continue to remain in relationship to these lands through ceremony, culture, and stewardship.
Last fall, our Indigenous Natural Resource Management class imagined a research project that would have lasting benefits for our community. We are here to present this research on behalf of our classmates who helped design the first phase of this project. It is important to mention that the class and project are intrinsically interdisciplinary, with 12 different majors being represented. Collectively, we decided to focus on ways to indigenize HSU's campus. Following the guidelines of participatory action research methodologies, we conducted interviews with HSU faculty, staff, and students to learn how they would imagine an indigenized campus. Additionally, we held a community stakeholders meeting to learn what other members of the community felt essential to HSU's addition. Based on all our class and community research, our final proposed project is the development of a food sovereignty lab and cultural workspace.
In 2018, a research project investigating national public opinion about how non-natives perceive Native peoples stated, Native people are misrepresented and are invisible in American society. Invisibility is in essence the modern form of racism used against Native Americans. It is this invisibility that leads to a college access and completion crisis among Native American students. Currently, HSU is working to improve its recruitment, enrollment, and retention rates. A food sovereignty lab would not only help strengthen our Indigenous student body who are particularly vulnerable to these issues, but would also bring a level of education to all students that is not available anywhere else in the state.
Because Indigenous peoples are often left out of the conversation, our research decidedly prioritized Indigenous voices both on and off campus. Specifically, our research asked, what Indigenous representations do HSU and other CSUs already have on campus? What additions are essential for an Indigenous student body? And how can we grow these representations on campus to better support relationships with the Indigenous community? The first step of our research was to identify current Indigenous representations on HSU's campus. At HSU, we have services that support Native American students in chosen fields such as ITEP and Intercept, and presently, infrastructural and cultural representation on campus are minimal, with some notable exceptions such as the Yurok-style traditional canoe in the library and the Native American Forum, which is a longhouse-inspired building and used as a centralized space for Native American studies, meetings, and presentations. This table represents all of the Indigenous representations on campus. The three categories represented are resource center or gathering spaces, art installations or events, and curriculum.
The next phase of our research was to learn what other CSUs are doing to indigenize their campuses. Some of the more impressive representations we found include Fresno State's Peace Garden, which consists of 6 plants used in the making of Native American baskets and utilizes a basket weave theme throughout the garden, and the Creekside Education Garden at Chico State, which contains native species and signs which indicate the common name, scientific name, and sometimes the Mechoopda name of those plants.
Another aspect of our research was to conduct 13 interviews with students, faculty, and staff to uncover their general and specific recommendations for enhancing Indigenous representations on campus. Finally, we held a community stakeholders meeting to present our project proposal to both Indigenous and non-Indigenous members of our community. This meeting gave our class the opportunity to put our community-based research skills to practice as we ran both large and smaller group discussions. After our interviews and stakeholders meeting concluded, we coded for common responses and developed this table based on those responses. The results show a strong desire for more ubiquitous Indigenous representations on HSU's campus, utilizing diverse manifestations. The most common responses were a food sovereignty lab, a unified cultural space, and a native plants garden with interpretive signage.
Based on these findings, our proposal is a food sovereignty lab and cultural workspace consisting of a permanent centralized location for cultural practices such as traditional ecological knowledge workshops, including basket, regalia, and medicine making, and Indigenous food preparation spaces for food sovereignty practices, which will serve Indigenous students and peoples, as well as the university and community collectively. Internationally renowned Native American activist Winona LaDuke states, "Food sovereignty is an affirmation of who we are as Indigenous peoples and one of the most sure-footed ways to restore our relationship with the world around us. We believe this project will enable us to rebuild that relationship."
This logic model created by one of our classmates illustrates how our project can achieve that very goal. Through implemented curriculum and integration of Indigenous pedagogies into multiple interdisciplinary colleges, this model explains our expected results based on the project proposal.
The next step for this project is to apply for grant funding in order to update the space that we hope to use on HSU's campus. Once the grant funding is secured, we will design the space and purchase materials, and food sovereignty and Indigenous cultural workshops will be then offered to HSU students and to the community. There are many interpretations of food sovereignty. The Declaration of Nyaleni, the first global forum on food sovereignty, defines it as the right of peoples to a healthy and culturally appropriate food produced through ecologically sound and sustainable methods, and their right to define their own food and agriculture systems. The concept of food sovereignty directly relates to building individual and community resilience while preparing for climate change. Because of the intense impact of COVID-19, it is clear that there's a deep-rooted need for change. A focus on community-based collaboratory education, research, and work is apparent and essential. Our Indigenous student body and community are telling us what they require for success. It's time we listen.
Another very personal part of our research were testimonies from our classmates, and I'm here today to share mine with you. Growing up in Alaska, my childhood was filled with salmon, halibut, razor clams, moose, and wild berries. After hundreds of years of assimilation and erasure, one of the last ways my family and tribe has remained traditional is our subsistence lives. We are peoples who define ourselves by what we eat. Our lives are built around this very ideology, and it is our identity. When I left home to attend college at HSU for a degree in marine biology, I was forced to leave my traditional foods behind. Not only were my first few years of school marked with depression and anxiety, I'd also developed eating problems. I was on my own for the first time, in a place I didn't know without my family or the way of life I knew. It was here where I strayed from my traditions, and without the means or space to practice my food sovereignty, I had never been further away from my tribe. In Northern California, a place known for its rivers, salmon, and peoples, I have lost my connection to my salmon. It is for this reason that the development of a food sovereignty lab at HSU would be integral to my education and career.
We are in a time of a global crisis unlike any other, and are therefore faced with problems of food and resource scarcity. With a food sovereignty lab on campus, students will be able to interact with Indigenous ontologies so that they'll leave academia and advance into their careers with the understanding that everything is connected. Also, the addition will set precedent for schools in California and across the nation to focus on the integration of decolonial practices, which will only further the health of all of us. And lastly, we realize that we're not the first, nor will we be the last group of people to work towards decolonizing or indigenizing this campus. We hope that our class project will merely be an extension of the ongoing decolonization work that is so desperately needed across the world.
Yaghalia Chikanik.
And thank you.